So Kurt's script had that thing that's really important to a movie, and its structure. It was really smartly laid out, and I'm pretty good at guessing turns and twists and things like that as a writer. But what Kurt did in his writing is he got ahead of me, and if he can get ahead of me, I know he can get ahead. I know we can get ahead of the audience. And also, he has a great sense of fun. The script had this great sense of fun, this great, cast of these very dynamic, very kind of interesting characters. Nobody's flat. Everybody has a very unique perspective. So, that's something absolutely, neat as a director, as a filmmaker, to have that definition in the characters. And it was just, again, like a lot of fun and a great opportunity for a lot of incredible.
And you will lose all your data since they'll have to replace the hard drive.
Emmy's FBI partner in the film is Bobby Nadiri, who's a great actor. I love using him. He can just blend into any role, and he becomes sort of this cynical, conscious voice about what are they doing, why are they doing it. And I think because what they stumble across is so big and so almost overwhelming, that he gets a little scared by it. And whereas Emmy is really trying to solve the murder of her mother and has that personal stake, Bobby is such a great character where, they're like a married couple. They have this great interaction, this incredible banter, and it's a lot of fun to watch their scenes together. But they are on the tail of something big and something scary. So sadly, a really common thing that happens is a lot of seniors, a lot of people that are vulnerable get targeted by these phishing scams. And they can range from clicking on the wrong thing to a really sophisticated operation where people are really targeted and over several days can be drained of everything they have, everything they work for. They can lose the deeds to their house because these scammers are so good at what they do and so precise. And it was interesting, as we crewed up the movie, crew members would come on and everyone kind of had a story. Everyone had a story about someone they knew who had been scammed. Everybody had a story about something that almost happened to them or their mom or did happen. And it really opened my eyes to the scope of this problem. And it is nice to be able to direct attention to something that people need to know about in a film. They need to know about this. Yeah, so the idea, we had an idea with Jason, something we really wanted to work with out of Kurt's script, that he isn't a gun guy per se. He's not running around with a weapon all the time. It's just a tool, one of many tools that he uses. And he may get a gun and take it apart and turn it into a stabbing weapon or a club. So it's kind of wild, to see these things happen in the film, but a lot of work went into sort of creating these moments and really getting that dexterity in the rehearsal. It was almost the idea that, Beekeeper has hands like a magician, that he can do anything. Jeremy Marinas, who was my stunt coordinator, fight coordinator, just did an incredible job there because it's coming up with the grammar. What does the movement look like? What do our fights even look like? Are they cowboy brawls? Are they cowboy brawls? Are they more sophisticated? And we have very sophisticated kind of fluid action that develops. And the process is Jeremy writes action, shoots it on video, we present it to Jason. Jason has his ideas, and he's really smart, and he really knows what he's capable of and want to make sure that is showcased in these stunt choreographies. Then we practice and practice and practice, and then I figure out how to get a camera on it, and then you just grind on the day. Shooting action, I don't think people understand, is there's a lot of repetition to it. It's a very physical, strenuous activity, even for the crew. But it's a lot of fun, and when you see those shots, those dailies come out, and you're going to take a treasure trove back to editorial and create an amazing stunt sequence, and it's just like being in the delivery room and watching something incredible come out. So Jason is very successful at upsetting the bad guys, and as he starts to dismantle their organization, they realize they need to do. As he starts to dismantle their organization, they realize they need to do something, and they need to do it fast. And they're sort of able to game the system, and they get a beekeeper to go after a beekeeper. And So Anisette shows up. She's the local beekeeper, and it's her responsibility now to take out Jason, who's retired. You know, beekeepers have their own politics, and maybe we'll learn more about that in the future. But it's a really wild scene. She shows up at this gas station with a military Gatling gun and then proceeds to just absolutely cause havoc. And it was a lot of fun to choreograph that fight. There's several rope pulls and special stunts we did. But it's just a lot of fun. It's a good popcorn moment. It's a great fight sequence. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of stuff happening. And just to keep it exciting, we blew the place up at the end too, which was, I think, our last shot of the night, which is generally what you want to do when you blow up your set. And that gave us a nice fireball about 5 a.m. before the sun came up and we went home. That was a tough day. You know, very important characters in the film, and they're the bad guys. They're the bad guys, and because they do bad things and condone bad things. It's Jeremy Irons, who, incredible actor, just a really gifted actor, and I was so honored to work with him. It was such a pleasure to have him on set. He plays a former CIA director who has sort of come under the sway of a less than ethical crypto businessman, played by Josh Hutcherson. And Josh really, I think, developed himself in an interesting way in this film, because it's such a different character from anything we've ever seen him play. And he's such a good actor. Josh is an amazing actor. And then you combine him with, you know, a legend like Jeremy Irons, and now you have this incredible chemistry, and you start to believe these characters. You start to believe them. You feel them. You have a sense of their desperation, and you have a sense of their growing desperation as they get chased by a beekeeper.
Agent Parker?
Yes.
I'm so very sorry about your mother. But rest assured, her passing will not be in vain.
We look at the film, you know, the main driver of all the craziness happening is really Josh Hutcherson, who is this out-of-control kid, privileged, comes from wealth, comes from, you know, the Silicon Valley crypto culture, probably was the Burning Man. And he is absolutely desperate and has no boundaries. And part of the fun of this, you know, watching this film, you never know what Josh Hutcherson is going to do next. You never know what outrageous things he's going to say. You never know how he's going to manipulate the people around him to solve his own problems. And poor Jeremy Irons, you know, has to try and keep this guy safe. His job there is he's really head of security for someone who seems hell-bent on self-destruction. It's a good dynamic. There's nothing more thrilling for me as a director to have an incredible actor come on set. And this was a great opportunity to work with Minnie Driver. And she has a small but incredibly important role in the film. And I find that, you know, when you cast powerful people, when you cast government officials, it's important to cast an actor who feels like they have the gravitas and horsepower to really be that person in real life. And Minnie absolutely, well, she plays the head of the CIA. I'm gonna give it away here. And I buy her in that role 100%. And what she says tells us a lot about the beekeepers, that maybe there's more going on between the government and the beekeepers than we know, and that we probably shouldn't mess with the beekeepers. Jason has an interesting background. He, you know, was a bit of a street hustler in North London at one point. You know, you gotta survive, right? So he understands the world, let's say. And he was a Muay Thai fighter, a kickboxer, a gifted kickboxer, and a diver. He's a very athletic guy. He's kind of done it all. And the thing with Jason, he has this incredible physicality, which you just don't see in a lot of actors. It's not a common thing to have a true movie star who is also a gifted fighter. In the real world, he can go in a boxing gym and hold his own. And so he understands fighting in a very experienced way, but just it's truly an honor to work with him because he has such an instinctual understanding of what's going to look good on that screen. The idea behind a beekeeper's skill set is they don't need to run around loaded up with guns, you know, like a soldier would. a beekeeper is going to use the environment. A beekeeper is going to sort of sneak in, cause damage, and get away before you know what happened. A beekeeper can sneak in, cause damage, and get away before you know what happened. And maybe they'll use a wine bottle. They're going to use anything available in the environment to take out the bad guy, get the mission done. If they need a gun for the task, absolutely. If they got to blow stuff up, they're going to do that. I think a beekeeper is a virtuoso of violence. When I went and made this movie, I realized how little I knew about bees, and they're pretty fascinating. They how they operate, how they're regimented, different kinds of bees, workers, drones, queens. There's bees with specific functions, and in a sense, there are warrior bees that'll go out and fight when there's a threat to the hive. And so a beekeeper understands all of these things. A beekeeper knows how to change the queen if there's a problem with the queen in a hive and preserve the hive. A beekeeper knows how to move a hive. A beekeeper knows how to handle the hive. So it's interesting because I read something that the bees aren't necessarily conscious of a beekeeper when a beekeeper shows up. They don't see the beekeeper. So the beekeeper is almost like this force of nature, this invisible force of organization that is shaping the reality of the bees, and the bees aren't aware of that. And it's such a great idea to play with, the idea of governments and who fixes things and who has a vision for society and how to help people. So the idea of the beekeepers is that they're really outside of the government, and trust me, if the government could control them and get in there, they absolutely would. And so a lot of thought went into what would that look like in the real world, and how would it be dealt with? And if you're a government official, what would that look like in the real world, and how would that be dealt with? And if you're a government official, how do you react to this organization that's running around doing things that you have no control over? And the obvious answer is, well, you keep it all secret and you pretend it doesn't exist. So this is the first time I worked with Jason, and it's you know instantly on set how that's going to unfold the first day. And I'm watching him, and you have all the meetings, you rehearse and all the discussions, and you do all the choreo rehearsals, and so we went to set with a great relationship. But until you meet the actor on set, you haven't met the actor. And it was honestly shocking, because he knew the angles, he knows the lenses, he knows the lights, he knows these intricate ways to move, body positioning, how to hold his face. And you can't teach that. That's something movie stars have. And you look at old movies, and I study old movies, and there's a stillness and a presence and just this sophisticated understanding of how cameras work. And when you work with an actor who has that, it's an absolute pleasure, because at that point you're capturing magic.
Clay!
For audiences, when they go and see this movie, it's really about going to the movies. It's about great acting, great action, cinematic visuals. It's about intricate characters that bounce off each other in fun ways. It's about being thrilled. It's about being scared for the hero and not being sure if he's going to make it, and then he makes it. So I wanted to create a Jason Statham movie where he takes us on not just an action journey, but an emotional journey. I wanted this to be like the action movies I grew up on, that when you watch them, there's something really satisfying about how they resolve. You feel like you've watched a movie when those lights come on at the end.
Hope you enjoyed your behind the scenes look. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you here next time. Later.